Hey, Bruce. Uh, Thanks for doing this. I wanted to ask you about a player you mentioned yesterday, Anders Bjork. You said he looked good. Not sure how you think he looked today, but what have you seen from him in terms of development throughout this season, and what will you be looking for from him going forward?
Well, I think he got off to a pretty good start. He started adjusting to a role where you weren't seeing as many offensive minutes, power play time, and more of a third line and special teams minutes were penalty kill. And I thought he did a good job away from the puck. So, he's earning his teammates' trust, his coach's trust, learning, the details of the game, better stick, better angles. And then he started managing the puck, and I thought his offense was coming. And then, a little bit more of a bump in the road in the middle of the year. Why does that happen with young guys? Sometimes they just physically and maybe mentally and both have to deal with the grind of the season. The injuries catch up to you. The nicks and bruises and expectations go up. So, we had some competition in our lineup. We made a couple of, trades late. So we moved those new players in, and it affected his ice time to the point where he wasn't playing towards the end. So there's competition for him here now to get in the lineup. We like Anders as a person. We like him as a player, but we're going to play the 12 best guys and however they fit in our lineup. So he's certainly in that mix. Is he automatic? No. So for him, this return to play, these practice sessions are more important than some of the other guys because you don't have a lot of games to prove yourself. So that's something we'll be looking for with him and a handful of other guys. So that's what where Anders is at. And we'll see how it plays out. In the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Thanks, Butchie. We'll go next to Matt Porter. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Bruce. First, do you expect Pastrnak and Kasha tomorrow? Maybe is it possible? Or?
I would expect them that. What happens with some of these guys again, unable to practice or unfit, whatever the terminology is all encompassing. They weren't on the ice today. Some of that has to do with the timing of testing, returning from Europe, etc. So it's not necessarily an injury or a positive test in a lot of these cases. So tomorrow, I'm anticipating they'll skate. We're going to give some of the guys that have been skating here a lot a maintenance day. So we'll have more of a full group on Thursday. I anticipate more players will be joining that group. As I said yesterday, more would join today, and Zaboral joined. Vakanainen joined and Bleed. So, again, I'm hoping Thursday that pretty much have our full body count.
And curious about your leadership group. What have you seen from them on the ice so far? And then, obviously, I've said it many times before. You expect, them to handle a certain amount, within the room with the group. How does that change now? What more are you asking them to do in these times?
Well, we asked them to police a little more, maybe, but we're asking all the individuals. You have to be more responsible just because of the coronavirus. It's that simple. This isn't just relatable to hockey. It's all the pro sports that are trying to start up. It's college sports that are trying to get going. It's communities. It's everybody to social distance, to mask up when necessary. And it's even more important for us because, if one person gets infected, it could go through your whole team, and it could hurt your chances if that were to happen, especially with the protocol. So, we're leaning on everybody here, all the individuals, especially that are planning on being in the bubble, to take care of themselves the next 2 weeks, and we're hoping they'll be responsible. And we're asking, I guess, the leadership, I'm not sure it's every day where we're drilling it into them, but we've said, can we carry that message and make sure that players understand what's at stake? Because you guys have been through it a little bit more. They know the sacrifices required to win a Stanley Cup. So and our players listen to them. So we hope that that's the case. And other than that, it's what we've always asked of them. Be the best players at practice. Demonstrate good work ethic and tutor when you can the young guys off the ice and show up to play and play hard and play the right way. So I'll keep asking them.
Thanks. We'll go next to Steve Conroy. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Bruce. You went back with DeBrus with Krejci out of familiarity, I guess. But they had an up and down year together. Is that going to take a little more work to get that chemistry back for them than say maybe Bergie and Marshy after 4 months?
It may, Steve. I mean, sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder too. So maybe they'll reconnect a little time away. They've had good chemistry in the past. They're not Marshy and Bergie simply because they haven't had the reps or years of work. And Jake isn't in Marshy's category when it comes to time in the league and resume. And certainly Kretsch and Bergie are very similar. But so you got to give that a little more time to grow. And so we're going to go back to it. If we don't like what we see through some of the round robin or practices, then Jake goes with Coyle and we try probably Richie or someone else. So, but we're going to give it a look and see where it's at. Again, I still think it's early until we start, getting into some, good 5-on-5 and even within our own group, see how they play 5-on-5 against, live as live as possible competition and see where it leads. We try different things because we made deals at the deadline to try to get guys in the most comfortable position. We didn't feel we were breaking up a real hot duo either, so it was probably as good a time as any to do it. My guess is that if the pause hadn't happened, Steve, we probably would have went back to Kretsch and DeBrusque at some point to see what it looked like from a little time apart. So we're doing it now.
Thank you.
We'll go next to Connor Ryan. Go ahead, Connor.
Hey, Bruce. Given how quick the ramp-up is over the next couple of weeks, what's kind of the added challenge for a few of these players, either going through quarantine or just unable to play protocol, if they end up missing a couple of these practices here in Phase 3?
You know what? I'm going to try to turn you up, Connor. I don't know what's going on with my volume here.
Gotcha. It might be the mask I have on too, so I might have adjusted a little bit here.
Sorry.
Can you hear me a little bit better?
Can you repeat it a little bit?
Can you hear me a little bit better? Yeah. So given how quick the ramp-up is over the next couple of weeks, what's kind of the added challenge for a few of these players going through either quarantine or the unable to play protocol if they end up missing a couple of these practices here in Phase 3?
Well, I think missing them early, if you've been doing some off-ice work or skating on your own wherever you've been, you can catch up. If you were to miss a full week when training camp or return to play, I caught myself there. Return to play practices are only going to be 2 weeks. Then you're getting into it. Now you're talking 50% of the time off. So it will affect you. Some guys, can certainly make up the ground quicker than others. That's just the way some guys are wired. Missing a day or two here or there and maintenance, I do not think will affect you a ton unless you're that guy that mentally needs an exact routine. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but that'll be the effects here. I think once we get to Toronto, if you start missing time for whatever reason, comes more paramount because now it's the details of the team, getting ready. Those last few practices are, say 3 or 4 practices where you start focusing a little more on the opposition, little things here and there. Then I think it hurts you more. But right now, I think there's opportunity to catch up. You can build in some extra reps for guys, if need be, longer skates after, extra long workouts. There's time for that now. But as we get closer, that becomes less and less, and then I think the effect becomes greater and greater on the player trying to play catch up.
We'll go next to Fluto Shinzawa. Go ahead, Fluto.
Hi, Bruce. When it comes to your older leaders, you certainly can talk about legacy with Zdeno and Patrice and Tuukka and David. So I'm wondering if they can lead you through this challenge and really pull on the rope to get you through to past Toronto and into Edmonton and possibly a cup, what do you think that would mean to their accomplishments, their overall legacies, what they've done here in Boston, if they can really pull you through?
Well, I feel that, they're as well respected as any players that have been in here in a long time. You go back to generations of different players have done great things for Bruins. I think those guys are right up there. So, but this is a unique situation, Pluto, whatever team wins this, and maybe a lot of the different sports as they get going. I think it'll be remembered differently, obviously, for maybe the bubble year or however it's going to be phrased. I can't see into the future what people will name it, but it will mean a little bit more. And I think as well, like the guys that are leaving their families have to pull on the rope, but that's where the young guys as well. It's not easy to be, sort of contained and not be able to go where you want, do what you want, when you want. But that's where the young guys have to, I think, pitch in a little more as well, knowing that, hey, these guys are leaving their young children, their wives and young children for an undetermined amount of time. That's a big sacrifice. It's part of the job requirement this year, so that's the way it is. But that's where the young guys have to step up a little too here now, and we're going to talk about that as well. It's not always incumbent on the veteran guys, to be big brother. There's certain situations, yes, we need it, we want it, they're willing to do it, but there's also a situation here where little brother can pull on the rope a little harder too. The days that some of the veteran guys are dealing with maybe some issues back home that they're not able to do because they're in a bubble. So we're going to talk about that as well, Fluto. But to get back to your original question, I think it'll mean a lot for those guys, and they'll be talked about for years to come. Whatever team's able to prevail because of the circumstances, the sacrifices that are being made, and the conditions and the adversity you're playing through. It's probably a little bit different. I've said it all along. You have to make sacrifices to be a Stanley Cup champion, no matter what year. But this year they're a little more unique than other years.
Thanks, Butchie. We'll take one final question from Chris Gasper. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Bruce. I apologize in advance. Just looking for a little clarification. Are you expecting Pasta and Kasha to skate tomorrow or Thursday?
Well, we're going to have the main group on Thursday back on the ice. Tomorrow, some guys are getting maintenance days. So you're going to see probably anywhere from 10 to 12 players. We've talked to a few about how much have they been skating before they got here. There's a group that was here longer, so we're managing them. I believe we're hoping Pasta and Kasha will be cleared to skate tomorrow, whether it's on their own or with that small group. And we're hoping to have as complete a group as we've had on Thursday. So that's the timeline for those two. We're hoping for. Again, like I said, sometimes it's a timing of the testing and their return to the United States that has to coincide and when they can go on the ice. And I can't get into what every player has to go through, but that's a little bit what's going on with our group and probably a lot of different teams that had players leave the home city and come back. So that's what we're anticipating, if that answers your question. So
it absolutely does. And just as a quick follow-up, on your part, is there any desire or wish that maybe they had gotten here a little sooner so they could have started with you guys, or was that just not logistically possible for them?
Well, I don't know what was possible for them, to be honest. I'll be perfectly honest. I think the players all along were entitled to return when they saw fit. I think phase 2 was voluntary to come back. Let's just assume they get back in the mix Thursday with the group. I don't think they'll be that far behind. I think some Europeans, countries, if I'm not mistaken, were free to skate earlier, so they might have had the benefit of skating while some of the guys couldn't here. The arenas weren't open, or the state didn't allow people to get together. So, it's one of those situations. They got a little bit at the beginning, maybe hurt a little bit at the end, and vice versa. But the rules are when you came back, you have to quarantine for X amount of time. So I don't hold it against them. That those are the rules in place, and I think they were kind of fluid as we went along here. Now, if they were out and missed, 2 weeks of training camp and came back the day before and were told, hey, we got to sit for 14 days, then that probably wouldn't have been the wisest move, to be honest with you. So if they're in the line, if they're in with the group Thursday and they, and they look good and healthy and fit and been conditioning, then I think they'll catch up in a hurry and we'll be fine.